Hey, Vasco here, and this is the most important video you'll see from me this year. It's because I've learned more this year, 2025, than in the past 8 years combined doing SEO. And in this 1 hour long video, I'll just be basically spitting all the beans of all the stuff I learned this year that I've applied to my own brands and to my clients' brands that actually works. It's a 4-step blueprint that if you apply it, if you just actually watch the whole thing and apply these 4 simple steps, there's no reason, and I repeat, there is no reason why you can't have your brand, your site mentioned and cited in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, whichever LLM you choose in just literally 4 to 6 weeks. And the reason why I'm so confident about that is that for every single person that I've applied these 4-step blueprints to, including myself, they were able to achieve those results. So again, the most important video I've made this year because it packs every single thing I learned so far this year for stuff that actually works. Because as you know, right, I've been saying this for years, right? Every single time I came on here and record a video, it's me just going and telling you the stuff that's working out for me. Now, I don't know if in a year from now or in a 2 months, 3 months from now, this stuff still works, because at the end of the day, like SEO, AI rankings, whatever, right? This is a marketing strategy, and marketing changes. The marketing strategy that I implemented last year maybe don't work so well this year. That being said, the stuff that I teach you on here right now, it's my whole learnings throughout this whole year for stuff that actually still works till today. So if I can urge you to do one thing, is don't be like the 99% of people that just watch. Right? Actually go out and implement. Because as cliche and as cringe as it sounds, right, most people are just going to watch, right? And if you can be the 1%, the 1 or 2 guys or gals that actually implement this stuff, I can assure you that's going to work out. Because every single person, including myself, that I've applied this 4-step blueprint to their sites, they got results in 4 to 6 weeks. That's how well this works. So again, please enjoy the video, and yeah, I'll see you at the end with a short message. But yeah, good luck, and talk soon. You don't need to rank on Google in order to be mentioned or cited in ChatGPT. And this is why we can achieve results in 4 to 6 weeks, while for Google, it takes a little bit more time. Now, of course, it does help, but you don't need to. And the graph you see here on the right-hand side of the screen is a study Ahrefs did, where it basically shows that 28.3%, so basically a third, right? A third of the brands or sites mentioned in ChatGPT are nowhere to be seen on Google. In other words, right, you can be mentioned and cited in these LLMs and be nowhere to be found on Google. So they're 2 separate entities. We'll dive deeper into this, but I felt like this was very important to show you because it is one of the most important things we've discovered this year. Now, before we start, and again, I just want to give you here an example. So a practical example of what I just described. If you just go on, I think this is GPT, and I searched up for best Herman Miller chairs or best Herman Miller alternatives, right? And again, as GPT does, it gives you a bunch of information and cites a bunch of sources, right? And the first source it cited was this simple blog post of a brand writing a simple blog post for a Herman Miller chair alternative, okay? And their whole goal is to say, hey, listen, we are the best alternative, buy our product. Pretty simple, pretty classic SEO strategy. Now, if you were to type in the same prompt or same keyword in Google, right, these are not them. Then there's a Reddit post and there's an AI review. These are not them. These are not them. So this guy right here, who's cited first in GPT, is nowhere to be seen on Google for the same prompt. Okay, so this is proof of what I just told you. The reason why this happens is because ChatGPT, so these LLM-based search engines, GPT, Perplexity, Grok, doesn't matter which one you use, work in a very different fashion than Google and Bing. Let me show you an example. So while on Google and Bing, like you go on Google and Bing and you search for something, right? What happens? Let me just change the color right here. What happens? Well, there's result 1, there's result 2, right? We've all used Google, right? We've all used Google. There's result 3, and so on until, I don't know, result 100, right? And then, right, based off of your keyword of your search prompt, what you do is then you click, and let's say, for example, this is like an article, this is, for example, a Reddit thread, this is, for example, like a YouTube video, right? So you search for stuff, and then you click in and you read the article, right? Then you click in and you maybe skim through the Reddit comments, and then maybe you click here and watch the YouTube video, and then based off of all the information you've gathered from this, right, you make your conclusion to either buy the product, buy the service, or do whatever it is based on the intent of your search, right? Again, we've all used Google. We know how it works. Now, what's the difference between Google and ChatGPT? Again, we've all used GPT. You prompt it with something, it gives you an answer, right? Give it a prompt, gives you an answer. And you keep on prompting it back and forth, prompt, answer, until you have refined the answer you have. Again, we've all used ChatGPT. We know how it works. It's prompt, answer, prompt, answer. Now, the difference is that all these LLMs are doing, in essence, is based off of the intent of your prompt, right? They're essentially looking for information on search engines, right? They're, instead of you actually clicking and all this stuff, the LLMs are going in and they're clicking. They're reading the article for you. They're skimming through the Reddit comments. They're looking at the YouTube video transcripts, right? Then based off of the info they find, they give you the information in a little text box, again, in the most convenient way with links to the sources they cited, right? This is the difference. What's my point here? My point is that even if you rank 100th, even if no human, because I mean, if you rank 100 for a keyword, no human is going to go there, right? Most of us just search for something on Google, click the first, second, third, maybe the fourth result, and don't go down from there. That being said, LLMs don't care, right? All they want is to give you the correct information the fastest possible. So if they feel like they have to go to the 100th position, they will. And if they do so, right, they're gonna cite right here the source they found in the 100th position. That's why you don't need to rank on Google, right? You don't need to wait to rank on Google, right? Because these LLMs, they don't care if you rank first or second or third or 100th, right? There's some nuance to that, but most times they don't care for that, right? They only care to provide you with the best, most correct answer. This is the main difference between these two types of search engines, right? One of them right here, you do all the work for you, and this right here, they do the work for you, right? Let me know if this makes sense, guys. Give me an X in the chat if this makes sense. And any questions that are on the chat, I'll answer them after. Don't worry. But let me know if this makes sense, because this is the core of how this stuff works, right? And this is going to dictate how the presentation is going to move forward. So give me just an X in the chat, the letter X, if this is making sense. Okay. Okay. Cool. So with that being said, now why would you want to rank first, or why would you want to be cited in ChatGPT or rank first on Google? Well, to be honest, is that we want to make more money, right? All you guys are here because you want to make more money. That's plain and simple, brutally honest. That's why you want to rank first on Google. That's why you want to be mentioned and cited first on ChatGPT. I think we can all agree on that. Cool, right? And so, okay, the big question is, how do I get mentioned in ChatGPT and rank first on Google? And of course, make a lot of money along the way. Well, this is again where the 4-step blueprint comes in, right? The 4-step blueprint to be mentioned or cited on ChatGPT and ranking first on Google, right? It's 4 simple steps, and I can guarantee you that if you apply these 4 steps, you will see success. The reason why I can guarantee that is because I do these exact same steps, and all the people that I showed you before apply these same steps. The hard part isn't understanding the steps. The hard part is actually applying them and putting in the work and the hours. That's the hard part, but we'll talk about that later on, okay? Now, the 4 steps are: first, tracking down profit-triggering prompts, and I'll explain all these after, don't worry. Second one is matching the search intent of those search prompts with surgical precision. Third one is secure links that actually move the rankings. And fourth is hunting down SEO gremlins. And again, I'll explain all these will work in a bit, but let's go over the very first step, right? Step 1, tracking down profit-triggering prompts. It's very important. This is why it's step 1. You need to focus on buying intent way more than traffic, way more. Not focusing on buying intent can literally ruin your entire campaign. And not just trying to sensationalize this, right? This is not just to make you guys scared. This is just the reality. If you fail step 1, all the other steps are kind of pointless, honestly. So this is very important, and most times, because it's boring, most people overlook it. I want to give you a couple of examples on how this works, and then how you can do it yourself. So here's an example, classic example, right? Let's say I own a physical store, right? I own an iPhone repair shop, right? And before people can come into my store, they have to come into the website, right? Website and the store. Now, the keywords, the prompts you see right here in red, right, are prompts with low buying intent. So people searching for how, let me just go here, how to repair your iPhone, or how do I fix my iPhone 16 screen? Or for example, a prompt searched on ChatGPT. My iPhone 14 Pro Max screen stopped working after it fell into the toilet. What can I do? Or for example, maybe they're searching for this on Grok. How do I change my iPhone 16 screen without voiding the warranty? All these, they're being searched on Google or LLMs, right? All these are low buying intent prompts. Why? Well, because someone searching for how most likely wants to do it themselves, right? Well, for example, someone searching for it right here, the cost, or where can I repair, or iPhone repair shop, or my son broke his iPhone 16 screen. How much does it cost to fix it? I'm in New York City. Give me the best place that's open right now, right? The ones in black right here, the buying intent behind these prompts, these keywords, it's so much higher than the other ones above. And again, I know this it's common sense, but sometimes common sense isn't that common. So it's very important that we go over this, right? Because it's it's pointless to go for the keywords like this. It's pointless because, yeah, sure, you can put in the work and eventually maybe you can't even rank first for these ones, but why? These people aren't ready to buy. These are not buyers, right? You want to go for the buying intent. People looking for where or how much, well, most likely they want to pay someone to do it for them, right? Here's another example. People, a company we work with, okay, they're a jewelry company. They've seen great results on the Google organic search, as well as the AI citations, as you can see right here, right? The keywords or the prompts in red are low buying intent, right? For example, how emerald stone rings are made, right? Yeah, sure, they're relevant, but people looking for how to make an emerald stone ring, most likely they don't want to buy it. Well, for example, searching someone looking for, hey, cheap versus expensive emerald stone ring, or buy emerald stone ring, or price, right? These people are ready to buy it. They're down the funnel, right? There's intent, there's buying intent behind these searches. Again, I know this is somewhat obvious, but oftentimes people overlook it. That's why this is step one. Now, going over and tying this again with LLMs, right? Different prompts, just like different keywords, can have the same intent. Right here, this is again the classic graph, how LLMs work. So you give it a prompt, gives you an answer, you keep on prompting it back and forth until the answer is like somewhat refined and you have what you want. So for this example, right, the prompt, Christmas is around the corner and I want to gift my 10-year-old kid a gardening kit. He's a boy. Right? The intent behind this prompt is the exact same intent behind this one, and behind this one, right? The search intent behind someone looking for or searching for gardening kits for beginners is the same intent for someone looking for gardening kits for kids below 10, or best gardening kits for gifts 10-year-old boy. The intent is the exact same because you can say the same thing in multiple different ways, right? And all these LLMs care for most times is just, okay, what's the core, right? What's the shortest prompt I can create, and what's the core intent, right? Then of course you can like create a bunch of different prompts, but what's the core one? In this case is gardening kits for kids. So point is that different wording or different prompts can have the same intent, okay? And this is important because of this right here. Oh. So how do you actually find, based off of all this info, how, if you're a local business, if you're an e-commerce store, if you're a plumber, if you're a software company like myself, doesn't matter what you sell, right? How do you find high buying intent keywords? How do you make sure you don't waste time looking for low buying intent keywords, right? How do you do this? Well, it's easy, right? You have to put yourself in your buyer's shoes. Again, I know this sounds cliche, I know this sounds obvious, but this is key, right? This is the best thing you can do. You just put yourself in your buyer's shoes and make a list. Make a list of keywords, make a list of prompts, and ask yourself, if I was a buyer of whatever it is that I'm selling, what would I search for if I wanted to buy X, Y, and Z? And sure, you can use tools for this. You can use AI tools. You can pay for software. You can use GPT. But I think the best way is just you sit down and write it down, because nobody, no AI, no tool knows your business better than yourself. That's just the reality, right? You know your customers better than anyone else. You know your business in and out better than anyone else, right? No other person. Don't outsource this stuff. Do it yourself, right? And make that list. Make a list. Make a simple list, right? Spend some time making a list of the keywords and prompts you think people would search for if they wanted to buy your service or product, right? And then after you have your list, well, just make this simple matrix where in the y-axis we have the buying intent, and in the x-axis we have the traffic. So usually the higher the traffic of the buyer, of the keyword, the higher the competition, right? And place your keywords, hopefully you can see this, and place those keywords or prompts right here in this matrix, right? Doesn't have to be super exact, right? And then make sure you don't target keywords here nor here, because these two quadrants right here are of low buying intent. Go for keywords here and here, because these two quadrants have high buying intent, low traffic, high buying intent, high traffic, right? It is that simple. And this is just a small exercise you can make, but it makes a whole difference, because if you don't do it, if you just go blindly, right, you're just going to be spending so much time and money and effort and ranking for the wrong keywords. And even if you actually rank first, then you're never going to make any money off of those keywords. And I see that happening all the time. And then people complain, hey, Vasco, I followed your tutorials, but then I'm ranking first, but I'm not making any money. Yeah, of course, right? Because you're ranking for the wrong keywords. Okay. So make this exercise. It's that simple, right? Pretty simple, pretty easy to understand. Give me a 2 in the chat if this makes somewhat sense. I know this might be a bit obvious, but give me a 2 in the chat if this is starting to form, and hopefully I can form like a line of thought from step 1 to step 4. Okay. So yeah, let me know in the chat, give me too if this makes sense. And any questions, don't worry, I'll answer them all at the end. So yeah, okay, cool. Okay, perfect. Yeah, makes sense. Again, anything that I'll talk about right here, it is simple. Anyone can understand this, right? It's super simple, right? So now, what's next? So now you have your keywords or prompts. What's next? Right. Next is step 2. It's matching that search intent, the intent of your keywords and prompts, with surgical precision. How do you do that? Well, you have to create content that satisfies the user's search intent of those keywords and prompts. Pretty simple, right? And why is this? Well, it's because Google, Bing, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or any other search engine only have one job, and it's to give people what they ask for. In other words, if you ask something, they want to give their users the best reply the quickest possible. And the reply is always based off of content someone or some AI produced. Always, right? We've all used Google, we all use any of these AIs, right? The reply obviously is always a piece of content, be it a video or a blog post, doesn't matter. It's always content. Okay? Pretty obvious. Here's again, if you search for anything on these LLMs, right, it's always content, right? All this is content, links out to content. All this is content. It's content based. So again, anything you ever ask a search engine for, you'll always be served content. So we have to produce content, obviously, right? Now there's 2 ways in which you can produce content. There's 2 paths you can take. You can do the slow way, which is manually just with your hands writing the content, or you can do it with AI, which is fast. Again, I recommend you do it. You don't have to, but I just recommend you do it because it's just way faster. Now, I always give this example to convince you guys to use AI. Again, you don't have to, but I recommend you do, because let's say it's me versus you in a table building competition, right? We both, the goal is to have tables built, right? And you are on the left-hand side of my screen, right? You're building the tables with your hand. You're taking the tabletop, you're plugging in the legs and screwing the screws with your hand. I'm doing the same thing, but I have a screwdriver, right? Obviously, I'm going to be able to assemble the table faster, so I'm going to be able to assemble more tables faster than you. Of course, yeah, sure, at the end of the day, we're both going to have a table assembled, but I'm going to have many more tables assembled. So that's basically a analogy of not using AI versus AI. Anything AI does, you can do manually, but why would you when you can just use AI to save you like a bunch of time? That's the whole thing. Now, okay, but the question becomes, sure, okay, I know I need to produce content, but what type of content do I produce? Because there's listicles, there's blog articles, news articles, tutorials, comparison articles, alternative articles, guides, content about the competitors, right? There's a lot of stuff. But don't forget, the keywords or prompts you choose in step 1, all the ones you chose, will guide the type of content you're going to be producing, okay? So let me just give you an example. So I'm going to give you 4 types of content you can produce today with real life examples based on specific keywords or prompts. So here's the first one. So let's say your main target keyword was your brand versus competitor, right? Right here, your brand versus competitor. This would be your main keyword that's on the list you made. So I don't know, let's say your brand is called Apple. Apple versus Samsung would be your keyword, okay? Now, for this type of content, again, of course, versus a comparison one, the type of content would be a comparison content, right? Where the goal would be to capture high buying intent traffic by comparing you versus the competition, or you can also do competition versus competition, because we can argue that if someone's searching for competitor 1 versus competitor 2, and you can create a piece of content that compares both, and at the end says something like, hey, listen, these 2 are great, but we're the best one. You can also do that, right? Again, you see all these all across the board, right? I searched for Thinkific versus Kajabi on ChatGPT. I did the same thing on Google, right? And of course, which type of content do you think it shows up? Every single citation, every single mention, be on GPT or every single site on right here on Google, was the exact same thing. It was a comparison article with, of course, H1, images, a table comparing both, right? Comparison article. So again, the keyword you choose will guide the content you produce. Here's another example. For example, let's say you want to produce, let's say your keyword is competitor and then a question. In this case, PayPal fees to send money. Let's say for some reason you wanted to rank for your competitor and a question. Why would you want to do this? Is because, again, let's say, for example, let's say I'm a competitor of PayPal. If I can rank for the keyword PayPal fees to send money, I can tell people, hey, listen, these are PayPal's fees to send money. Boom, 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 boom. But here's ours. It's much less. Use our service instead, which is what all these guys are doing. If you type in this on Google, right? What are PayPal fees to send money? Of course, PayPal shows up first. but this is a competitor, this is a competitor, and this is a competitor. And all these guys are doing is producing content around this keyword, right? Not around this prompt right here as well, right? Talking about it, solving and producing content to satisfy the search intent of the prompt, right? And then saying, hey, listen, this is just a regular blog post or regular article saying, hey, these are the fees. However, if you use this, you can save 10% on fees, right? So this is pretty cool, by the way. Like they produced content. If you're able to produce content about your competition better than them, you can outrank them or outcite them. For example, for the same prompt right here on Perplexity, why is a competitor shows up first, then Reddit, then another competitor shows up first, then only PayPal? So there you go. Let's say, for example, your main target keyword was, for example, alternative to competitor, right? Again, type of content would be, of course, alternative content. The goal here would be to capture, again, high buying intent traffic by writing content suggesting alternatives to XYZ. For example, let's say, again, my company would be Apple. Like I sell iPhones. I would make a piece of content titled Samsung alternatives, right? And on that article, I'd mention Apple as the best alternative. Again, this is exactly what these guys are doing. And again, if I search for alternatives to Zapier or alternatives to Herman Miller, all the content that shows up is alternative-based content. Simple content, right? That talks about alternatives to that competitor. Okay, pretty simple. Here's another one. News content, right? Let's say our main target keyword was we're targeting any news trending topic, for example, Tesla news or Apple news, because let's say the goal is to capture viral attention and convert the traffic from these readers to eventually become buyers, or we can just make money off of ad revenue or affiliate as well, right? We just want to, let's say we have a news-based site, right? Again, if you search for Tesla news, obviously Tesla news, like the news content will show up first. And what's news content? Well, it's content that has the news, and then in the end, it has the sources where they found the information from. It's a bit different from the classic blog post. So again, types of content can be all these ones right here. And don't worry, I'll give you access to all my content templates at the end. Okay. So the content you produce depends entirely on the keywords or prompts you target. Now, AI can help guide you on what type of content you should produce based off the keyword prompts you're targeting. Like, for example, if you instruct AI, if that your keyword or prompt is 10 best alternatives to XYZ, right? The AI knows to automatically write a listicle with 10 options, a table comparing the alternatives, images of the alternatives, links to all of them, a conclusion at the end that recommends the best alternative, which again can be your product. Right? I think all this sort of makes sense, right? Give me a 4 in the chat if this makes sense. If the content you're going to be producing depends heavily and entirely, basically, on the prompts you're targeting, right? Give me a 5 if this makes sense. So we have the keywords, we have the prompts. Now, how do we know what to talk about? Well, we have the answer, right? We have the answer. It's based on the prompts, based on the keywords. Yeah, a bunch of 4s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Super simple. Now, there's a checklist, and you can screenshot this if you guys want. There's a checklist for intent-based content that's sort of ready to rank first, right? It's not just because you like GPT an article that's going to be ranking first, or not necessarily ranking first, but it's not because you GPT an article that it's going to satisfy the search intent, right? It has to be a high-quality piece of content. It cannot be like a huge block of text. This is what I do, right? With all the content I produce, right? I make sure to have a featured image. A featured image is what shows up on top, a visual representation of what the article is going to be about, right? A small intro, right? I give little people like, and I'll show you an example in a bit. I give people like an intro of what I'll be talking about in the article, so people don't have to like scroll down the whole thing to find what the article is about. And this is tied in with the key takeaways, right? I give them like a bullets on what the article is going to be about. So these two are great for user experience, right? Also, they're a great way to sprinkle in your keywords on the top part of the article, which is a good thing for SEO. Then, of course, right, make it visual. Add in-article images, add in-article videos, right? Why would you not do this, right? People want to have, people don't want to be bored reading, right? That's why books have images, right? Some of them at least, right? Your articles, your pieces of content need to be engaging. Then a proper internal linking structure. This ties in with what we should be speaking in step 4, because eventually when you're building links to this content, right, you want the link juice to flow through. So a piece of content needs to link with other pieces of content so that when you build links to one, the link juice flows through. We'll talk about that later on. Then step 7, external linking structure. This is insanely important. Hopefully you guys can see this image. What this shows right here, this is a study done by these guys where it showed that in 90% of the times, the guys who ranked on the top 5 positions, all of them had external links, and the guys who didn't did not, right? In other words, if you're writing an article, again, be it whichever type of content you're writing, right, you need to link out to the sources. For example, let's say you mentioned that this new plant that your brand sells helps with this eczema on the skin, right? Where do you find that? What? Link out to the study of the university, link out to the Wikipedia page that talks about this plant, link out to the sources to cement the things you say in your content, right? And of course, Google wants this. Any LLM as well wants this. They want to make sure that info that is on there has sources. This is insanely valuable, right? Then of course, no fluff, right? Don't just write just because you're like have a bunch of words, right? Long gone are those days of, hey, if you want to rank first, you have to write 1,000 words. No longer are gone are those days. But make sure that in one piece of content you target multiple keywords, right? Don't have multiple pieces of content targeting different keywords. If the keywords are related, if your prompts are related, group them all in one single piece of content. Then, of course, number 9, have an author bio box. There's so many people that like neglect this. This is insanely valuable. Even if it's AI writing your content, even if it's ChatGPT writing your content, which I don't recommend, have an author bio box saying, hey, listen, this piece of content was written by AI. Here's why our AI is qualified. Like you click on it, it goes over to the AI's profile. It's because we've trained it based on our data. And again, also every piece of written content is proofread by a human. Very simple, but add that in, okay? Then number 10, schema markup. Now I'll talk a bit about this in a bit, but schema markup basically all it does is give you some extra features in the rankings. So in this case, hopefully you guys can see this. It gives you like these little images as well as these little star ratings at the bottom of your Google results. Okay. Now again, there's 2 paths you can take for this. You can do all this stuff manually, so the content creation, or with AI. Now I'll show you how to do it with AI, because anything you can do with AI, you can do manually. Again, it's just slower. So there you go. Now I want to make sure that you're careful. Don't use generic apps. It's best to use AI tailored apps. Again, nothing wrong with GPT, but it's just not good enough. It's not good enough to tailor your content. Now, full disclosure, I own an AI SEO tool. This is my own AI for SEO. It's tailored to writing content that ranks on Google and GPT. And by the way, all the results you saw before in the beginning are based off of this. Now, I want to make pretty clear, you can use any AI. Don't have to use mine. You can use any AI, just as long as it's tailored for SEO or GEO. Okay, full disclosure. Now, I'll just use mine to show you how I set it up for success using my content checklist. But again, you can use any of the ones you want. And by the way, if you want this, I'll give you a special membership at the end. Don't worry about it. So here's an example. I'll just open this up right here of a piece of content that's written with the content checklist. Again, you can use any AI, right? But starting from the top, of course, right, there's the the featured image, right? Give people an insight, a visual insight on what your content is about. Because again, you cannot succeed. You won't succeed with this if you just write a big wall of text. No way. Okay. So a visualization, featured image, right? A table of contents. Again, you can then put this on the left-hand side to be more organized. Then the little intro paragraph with the key takeaways. If you don't have this right here, you're gonna make people have to scroll to find the info, right? And by the way, if even if this doesn't rank on Google, right? Even if it doesn't rank on Google, even if LLMs can pick it up, LLMs read from top to bottom. So if you don't have the proper info right at the beginning, the most important info at the beginning, you incur the risk of not being mentioned or cited. So this section right here is key, is very, very important, okay? Then again, in article images, bullets, tables, quotes, put the info in a way that it makes sense, because we could have just written this right here in a little block of text, but why? It's much more easier to read if it's like in bullets, okay? Then, of course, links linking out to external sources. Links linking out, I think this is an article, this links out to an e-commerce store that sells gardening supplies, right? So internal links, external links, even in-article videos that are relevant to what the content is about. So have all this right here done. This is my checklist. This is what this AI produces. So again, you don't need to use this, right? Just make sure that the AI you use has this built in. Again, even if you don't want to use AI, you can do it manually. But if you do use AI, make sure that it follows the little checklist right here that I just talked about before, right? Again, this is just what works for me, right? Maybe you have a friend, a colleague who says, hey, I've added step 11 or I removed step whatever, right? This is just what works for me based on my results. I only share the stuff that works for me. I'm super transparent about that. And so, again, you can still do all this manually, it just takes you more time. Or again, you can use AI to help out. This AI finds keywords for you. The step one we just did, it finds the keywords, finds the prompts, and creates content based on those prompts, right? Now that you have all the keywords and prompts we want, right? We know the type of content we need to produce based off of those keywords and prompts, and that we can start producing and publishing that content. What's next, right? Well, next is step 3, which is secure links that actually move the rankings, right? So after you've created the content, published the content that's ready to rank, right, it's time to build backlinks. Now, backlinks, here's why they work, right? Let's say right here we have all these sites: Wikipedia, Forbes, Fox News, a niche site, Apple, IKEA, Amazon, Samsung. What do these all have in common? Well, they have high trust, right? They have high trust because they're brands, right? These guys rank on Google. They have big personas. Like, these are big brands. Google and all these LLMs trust because they've been in business for a long time and for a bunch of other reasons. So what happens if all these sources, these LLMs and Google trust, link to you, right? Well, you will also gain trust in the eyes of Google and in the eyes of LLMs. It's pretty simple. So why do it and how to build them? So why do it is because it works. I mean, hopefully you can see this, right? These are just a bunch of results of people we've worked with. This is one right here. This is a landscaper marketing site. Then we have a realtor, a skincare brand. And this is just basically graphs showing you the traffic increases and the number of links that were built, right? It just works. Again, when you have like high authoritative sources that these LLMs trust, that Google search trusts, linking to you, your trust will also increase. Thus, you're going to move up the rankings and gain more traffic. That's how it works. So why do it? Again, simply because it just works, right? There's a bunch of results. Now, again, yeah, because it works. Backlinks are trust signals. Okay. Now, how do you actually build the backlinks? Now, there's a bunch of backlinks you can build, right? A lot of them. But I want you to only focus on these 2 types of links, because these are the ones that I've seen move the needle the fastest and the most cost effective. Because sure, you can go on Fiverr and pay $5 for a backlink, which, yeah, you have a backlink, but that won't move the needle. So these 2 types, guest posts and niche edits, are the links that will give you the most bang for your buck. Okay, so let me go over what these are. Guest posts are essentially a link placed on a new post. So a website, right? Let's say Apple, for example, writes an article or creates a new page today, and for whichever reason, they have a link there to your site, right? That's a new post, a link placed on a new post. A niche edit would be if Apple, right, would be, for example, let's say they had a page written in 2020, right, about iPhone 10, I don't know, iPhone X, right? And for whichever reason, they went into the archive and added that page, for whichever reason, to add a new link right there to your site. Okay, that would be a niche edit. As the name suggests, niche editing a page, right? Guys, don't worry. Any questions you guys have, I'll answer them at the end. Don't worry. But yeah, so the 3-step process is pretty simple, right? You find the sites, right? You contact the owner and you pay or you trade link placements. Links aren't free. If anyone's promising you free links, either they're lying to you, or if they're free, they won't really move the needle. Now, again, you can trade links. So if you have a high authority site and you want a link from another high authority site, you can swap, right? But they aren't free. Nothing's free. Nothing of value is free, right? So here's how to build them. I'll give you 2 really cool examples. So right here, there's a bunch of search prompts you can type in, right? You can screenshot this if you want, right? The whole goal of these search prompts is to, again, step 1, find these sites, find these high quality sites, okay? And I'll give you my metrics and all that stuff. Let's just go over an example. So the first one, right, you see right there highlighted in yellow, it's niche, then location, then charity, right? I'll go on Google and I'll type in dog, in quotes, NYC charity. And let's say I have a brand, an e-commerce brand that sells dog collars, right? And of course, I want links that are powerful and relevant. So I'll just type in this prompt, as I said right there, niche, location, charity, right? Dog, NYC charity, right? You see in step 2, right here, a bunch of websites in NYC, of course, show up that are in the dog niche that are charities, right? I just clicked this right here. I think this one right here, pausey.org. So it's a .org domain, right? And it's a charity that helps dogs, that saves dogs, right? Well, every one of these charities, right, will have most times a partners page where you see right here, you can see the people who donated, right? And of course, the people who donate get links on this page back to their site. So Pretty simple. By the way, this is a very powerful site. They have 19,000 followers on Instagram. They're an active site, a valuable brand, high metrics. It's a decent site. So this is a great backlink, right? And again, sure, you have to pay. I'm not sure how least you can pay. I just did this as an example, but there's many more like these in multiple locations, in multiple niches. And on one hand, you're doing a great thing because you're giving money to charity, right? Helping out for a good cause. On the other hand as well, you're getting a fantastic backlink, very powerful, very niche specific, right? From a high trust, high authority domain, right? A non-profit, a charity is a high trust source, right? Amazing. And literally, you guys, you can do this today. Literally, this is one of the most powerful backlinks you can build, right? Don't go for $5 backlinks. Don't go for $10 backlinks, right? Go for this stuff. Nobody's doing this. I don't know why. I mean, yeah, sure, it takes time, takes work, but the effort you put in for the result you get is insane. Here's another example. For example, for the second prompt right here, this one right here, your niche, then the word in quotes, become a contributor, right? What's going to happen when you put this in Google is that you're going to find websites that have the wording become a contributor for your niche on any page on the site. What does this mean? Well, you have sites that are accepting people to become a contributor to produce content for their audience. Okay, so right here, I just typed in dog, and then the word became a contributor, and I just clicked the first one. Again, there's many more. There's infinite ones, right? And this showed up, right? Again, this site has a DR of 39, very powerful, right? Ranks, so it's a relevant domain, right? And it also has traffic, by the way, real traffic. This is mostly US based. They have their brand mentioned in LLMs, AI overviews, GPT. So it's a real brand. They have 10,000 followers on Instagram. So it's a real source, a real brand, a valuable site. Okay. And again, what I did was I just found the page for the Right for Us, and you just fill out this form, you follow their guidelines, and then you can have a post just like this, right? From a hyper relevant site, a powerful site, right? I'm not sure how much this cost. I think this one were like $50 or something around that. But again, you're always going to have to pay for links, right? But pay for the ones who are valuable, okay? And just these two, just this one and this one, or any other one of these right here, any one of these two right here, you can like search it for any of these prompts, will give you very powerful links. Sure, you have to do it manually, but you can just record an SOP or record like a video and send it to like a VA or someone else to do it for you, right? All this stuff right here that I'm teaching you is that so that you can do it yourself, or eventually you can just outsource it to someone else if you don't want to have the work, right? This works, okay? Now, here's my checklist for excluding low quality sites, because most of these sites you find through these prompts are going to be trash. So how do we like exclude and find quality sites? So this is what I do, right? First things first is if you just plug in the site into any like metrics checker, be it Ahrefs, Moz, Majestic, SEMrush, doesn't matter, right? Watch out for spikes in traffic because it usually means bots. So stuff like this right here, up and down the next week, most likely this is their bots. So don't go for these sites, right? Because they are not valuable. Then sites with traffic from low GDP countries, nothing against that. But usually throughout my findings, this means that the site is low quality. That's just the reality, right? That's that. Third is go and check waybackmachine.org. This is a pretty cool site that allows you to check the site's history. Why is this important? Because you can find a site that has no spikes, so first things first, looks good, that has traffic from the US or other top countries, fantastic. But then you go check a Wayback Machine and you see, okay, last year this site was a casino gambling site. 2 years ago was like a dog grooming place, and now it's like a furniture type site. They changed all these niches with the gambling in the middle. This is a bit fishy. And when you see this happening, when you look at the site's history through Wayback Machine and you see niche changes happening often, this usually means that the site is low quality and that people can even remove your links if you like a week after. So this is a red flag. Boom. I'm just giving you the things I do. Okay. Then the keywords they rank for. So if it's too generic, it usually means not good. So if you just plug in their domain in any tool to figure out like the keywords, the traffic, etc. If you see that let's say there's no spikes in traffic, they look fantastic. There's no traffic from low GDP countries. There's nothing wrong with the Wayback Machine. But if you see that they appear to be like a tech site, but then they rank for like casino keywords or furniture keywords, related keywords, or for example, I don't know, health related keywords. So that if they're all over the place, right, usually that's an indicative that something's wrong with it, and I wouldn't go for that. Then of course, low metrics, right? You don't want to like waste your time with sites around the R40, right? Just try to go above. Of course, traffic 1,000 plus, right? You want sites with real traffic, right? And that then of course they're niche relevant if you can, right? It's best to have a powerful link coming from a powerful domain, so the R40 plus, high traffic, relevant keywords. But then also relevancy is very important in links, right? You want to make sure that your links are relevant, right? So relevancy is key here, right? You want a bunch of relevant links coming in. Then, of course, step 4, or I guess last step, is don't blindly trust metrics, because all these metrics you're checking in all these tools can easily be manipulated. So don't blindly trust metrics. Okay, so check all these. This is again what I do. Check all these, and you're good to go. So yeah, I guess it's simple, right? So why don't people do it? Well, because it takes a lot of time and effort. That's honestly why. So yeah, guys, let me know if this makes sense. Give me a 7 in the chat if this makes sense. And again, any questions, I'll just answer them at the end. Yeah, 7 in the chat if this makes sense. Again, I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is quite simple. Right? I don't think any of you guys did not understand this, because it's super simple to understand. Again, the hard part, in my opinion, and I could be wrong here, is that people don't do it, even though they know how to do it, is because it takes a ton of time and effort. Okay, there we go, a bunch of 7s. Yeah. Okay, yeah, perfect, exactly. Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly. So I'll give you, by the way, access to my course, which is the backlink building course. It's a 4-hour, 5 modules that goes over how to find these sites in depth, how to outreach to the owners, how much to pay for links if necessary. Then some more a bit of a black hat techniques like building PBNs, that stands for private blog networks with expired domains, black hat SEO tactics. So I'll give you access to this as well. This is the stuff that's responsible for the results you see right here on screen, and the same results. So these guys are all clients of mine, where I charge them around $200 to $300 per link. And the links that I charge them for right here is the exact same links that I teach you how to build. That I teach you how to build in this course. So there you go. Now, we're almost done in the 4-step blueprint. There's a couple things missing still, but now I want to talk about step 4, which is hunting down the SEO gremlins. And this, honestly, it's the boring part of SEO. It's the most important one of the most important ones, but it's very boring because it's painful and it sucks, honestly. But it needs to be done, right? And so here's what it is. These gremlins that suck so much, right, have a lot of things that they need fixing. Okay. So first thing is your meta descriptions, your schema markup, then your internal linking structure, your XML sitemap, your canonic URLs, your image alt text, your site speed. So a lot of stuff, a lot of boring stuff, but we need to tackle all these ones. And I want to go over why this stuff is important and what it means. So the first gremlin we have to tackle is the meta titles and meta description. Again, I know this is boring, but here's why it's very important. Let's say I'm a local business. I want to rank first for Dallas Plumber, okay? And there's these guys, there's these ones, right? When I'm searching, right, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm the only one that does this, right? When I'm searching for someone to come into my house and fix whatever I want to fix, right? I want someone who I trust. And I don't necessarily trust the guy who's ranking first, sure, right? But not every time, right? That's why whatever it's written right here in your meta title and in your meta description is very important, right? For example, this is dumb because it's so big that there's nothing, like all the other stuff they wrote after isn't even seen by anyone. So why would you do it, right? This right here says home. This doesn't give me much trust, right? So what you write in your meta title and your meta description is key because it can alter the click-through rate. You can be ranking first, right? But these guys right here could be getting more clicks or vice versa, right? Stuff like this, like these little stars you see right here, little star ratings. This is done with schema markup, okay? A little snippet of code. I'll teach you how to do all this stuff, don't worry, in a bit. This is done with schema. So even though I'm ranking third right here, well, I have not only more pixels because these stars give you more pixels, I have an element nobody else has, right? Which conveys trust, 5 stars, 266 reviews, right? Which is great. Or stuff like this right here. This is also done with schema, this little image. So yeah, sure. Let's say you're fighting to rank first, but for whichever reason you can't really get the first position. Well, you can use stuff like this boring stuff to compensate for that. Like, let's say again, for whichever reason you can't get past third position. Doesn't matter. Optimize your meta title, optimize your meta description, get in some stars, get this image right here as well. And I can assure you, because we've seen this happen, you increase your CTR, right? And what happens is that if a lot of people start clicking the third result over and over again, eventually this will flip and you're going to start ranking first. So this stuff is very important, okay? Right? Very, very important. As well as the internal linking structure, right? You want to make sure that your pages interlink between each other, because if you're building links to your homepage and your homepage doesn't link to any other pages, well, the link juice is not going to flow through and it's a waste of time, okay? Waste of time, right? The XML sitemap, this helps both LLMs and search engines, the classic ones, read through your site easily, right? It tells them quickly how what your site is about. And if you don't have it, or if it's like pretty messed up, you're only going to be making Google spend more what they call crawl budget crawling your site, right? Which is not good. It's going to make sure that your pages take longer to index, which is not good, because if you're not indexed on Google, even if you're on page 100, if you're not indexed, you won't even show up in these LLMs. So that's very important, right? Then image alt text. I'll talk about these ones right here in a second. So let me just show you first one, the schema, right? How do you add these little stars? How do you add a little image? Super easy. Go to a site called schema.org. Schema.org. This is 100% free, by the way, right? Schema.org, right? Then if you scroll down to the schemas, you'll see all these schemas, right? There's event schema, person schema, local business schema. And what these schemas are is, again, just a little snippet of code. They're a snippet of code, right? Just like this. This may sound a bit daunting, or may sound a bit like, whoa, what's this? Am I hacking something? No, it's just a little snippet of code, right? And in this case, the way in which you add these right here, literally, is just to go on schema.org, click on the aggregate rating one right here, copy the code, and paste it into your website's header. If you're using WordPress, super easy. I mean, just go on YouTube and say, hey, how do I paste code in my WordPress site header? If you're using Shopify, same thing, right? Just, of course, make sure to change it, right? I mean, you can lie. In theory, nobody controls this. So you can say you have 1,000 reviews or 5 stars, but I'd advise you to don't lie on this. So make sure that you change the code to reflect your real reviews, and you add this. And eventually, when Google recrawls your page, or you can even submit it for reindexing, you'll have this right here. Same thing for the image. Same thing. It's the same thing. Just putting the schema that reflects whatever it is that it's the thing or new asset or new feature you want to have on the SERPs. That's it. Pretty simple. Don't think this is super weird or super hard. It's super easy to do. It's super easy. Okay, fixed, right? Then another one, site speed. Like if your site, even if you rank first, if your site takes 10 seconds to load, well, people are just going to click off and click the second one. So either pay someone to do it for you or do it yourself. Just fix it. You can go on Fiverr, type in site speed, and buy any of these services. I don't know. I'm not affiliated with any of these guys, but just improve your site speed. Super easy to do. Just like that, you can do it over a weekend, right? Then, for example, image alt text. Image alt text is the stuff that, excuse me, it gives Google, because Google can't really look at the image, right? So it's a little snippet of text you put in the image that tells Google what the image is about. And yes, image alt text impacts rankings. Even so, for more competitive niches, like for the non-really competitive niches, you don't need to go these extra mile, right? It's easy, like nobody does it. But for the more competitive niches, right, if you don't compete with the big boys, you gotta be firing on all cylinders. So this stuff needs to be there, needs to be implemented. So image alt text, if you're using WordPress, it's free to do. Just go in there, upload an image, but before you put it on your site, add a little description of what the image is about. I'm sure there's some AI plugin that automatically does it for you. Okay, so this is a screenshot from Google that basically tells you, hey, it's bad. You don't have the image alt text. It's good. It's better if you do. It does impact the rankings. Now, again, you can use AI for this. You can hunt down SEO gremlins automatically with my software. It fixes your meta titles, descriptions, does your schema markup, internal linking structure, sitemap, canonicals, image alt text. And again, I want to be fully transparent. You can do all this manually, just like I showed you. You can do all this stuff manually. It just takes you more time. So I'll just show you a quick demo on how I do this with AI. Again, no need to use mine. Use anyone that has it. But here's how I do it in mine. Let's see here. I think this is right here. This one right here. So what this does basically is we will, and again, I'll give you a special deal for this at the end if you guys want. And what this does is you go here and you just add your site. And what it does is it takes and analyzes a bunch of pages on your site. And based on all these pages, it analyzes the page titles, meta descriptions, canonicals, image alt text, and schema, right? And what it does, let me just give you an example. For example, and this is our own site, by the way. We're an SEO company and we have stuff we need to fix. So for example, for the /Squarespace page, which if you just go to arvo/Squarespace, this is simply like a page on our site because we're like a software business that has like we integrate with Squarespace. That's basically it, right? If you were to be a local business, you'd have like a service page. If you were to be like an e-commerce store, you'd have like a product page. So it doesn't really matter, okay? So it's telling us that our meta title is this, and it's suggesting we change to this, and then it gives us the why. Hey, listen, we think we should change to this because X, Y, Z, right? And then if you agree, you can hit apply, and if I do hit apply, the AI is going to log in and change this like just like that. Or I can discard, apply, discard, apply, discard. So it does this for all this stuff, image, alt text. It reads the images and finds what it is, and you can just select all these ones and apply them. And instead of you having to go in and do it manually, sure you can, but you can just hit apply and it will do it all for you. Schema as well, canonicals. I mean, it does all this for you. It gives you all the code, so all done for you by analyzing your site. Again, all this can be done manually, but why would you when you can use AI for that? That's it. That's the demo. Now, we've gone through the 4-step blueprint. I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like you can do it too? Like, honestly, do you feel like this is hard to do? Like, if you could sit down for a couple hours a day and do this, do you feel like this 4-step blueprint is hard? Like, I guess another question, give me a 2. Give me a 2 in the chat if you feel like you can do it. Give me a 2 if this doesn't sound that hard. Generally, if it does sound hard, give me a 7. But if it doesn't sound hard, give me a 2. Yeah, Mark says doable. Yeah, 100% doable. Like, I don't know if this sounds cliche, but I'm no smarter than any of you guys. I'm truly am not smarter. The reason why we're able to do it is because we just put in the time, the hours, and the effort. That's basically it. That's the secret to any success, as cliche, as cringe as it sounds. Basically it. Yeah, a bunch of 2s. Exactly, guys. Yeah, exactly. Now, I want to, like, before I move on, go over the 2 most common questions I usually get, which maybe some of you guys have, maybe some of you guys don't. Which the first one is, but Google penalizes AI content. Well, Google doesn't care. The thing is that Google doesn't care who or what writes the content, as long as it satisfies the user search intent. This is key. This is key. They don't care if it's a human, a robot, a dog, whatever, a microphone. They only care if it's high quality. Okay? So basically, that's all we need to do right here. Sure, AI can produce trash content, but so can humans, right? AI content doesn't rank. As I said, AI can write bad quality content 100%, but so can humans. And if the content is trash, be it written by a human or an AI, it will never rank. It's not about who or what writes the content. It's about if it is actually valuable, right? It's a matter of how well that piece of content you produce satisfies the search intent of the prompt or keyword you want to rank for, right? And you combine that with great technical SEO, which is the little gremlins I talked about, and backlinks, and no one can stop you, right? No one. And here's proof. All this is AI content. I cannot reveal the sites because they're like clients, but these guys did just what I just went over above. No different. So I think the blueprint is quite simple, right? Just make a list, right? Choose the prompts, choose your keywords, make sure that they're high buying intent. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting time, right? Then based off of that, generate, produce, write it manually, write it with AI, whatever you want to do, right? Ready to rank content following the checklist that I went over before, right? All the like little checklist steps, okay? Then publish that content, boost it with links. Then there's like a small step right here, which I'll talk about in a bit, and then make money. I know maybe I'm oversimplifying this, and this is very simple. It's not easy, but it is simple. I think we can all agree that it is simple. It's not easy, but it is quite simple. This is all that it is. And sure, right? There's 2 ways in which you can achieve this, be it manually, like doing all these steps manually, or implementing AI if you don't implement it in all these steps, you can just implement it some. Maybe you just implement it to finding the keywords or converting the keywords into content, or just for the backlink, or just for the whatever. Doesn't matter. Now, AI can automate 99% of the process for you. Okay, it helps you find high buying intent keywords or prompts. It can generate ready-to-rank content based off of that. It can automatically publish the content for you. It can fix the technical issues. It can do all this for you. Again, I'll give you a special deal at the end for this. Don't worry. Oh. But yeah, sorry. I want to show you like a quick demo real quick on how this AI can help you with that. So for example, it can take you and it can give you the keywords, give you the prompts that based off of your, you give it a URL and a bunch of competitors, a bunch of like your, let me just show you here, and your your seed keywords, where you're based in, the language, and based off of all that data, the competitor's data is going to give you a list of keywords, right? You can produce content around and prompts around and all the search volume, right? Then you can, of course, produce the content. You can automatically publish it to any of these CMSs, be it Shopify, Webflow, Blogger, doesn't matter. Again, you can do all these manually, but why would you? Then also you can automatically have it published with an autoblog. You can also create a knowledge base, so it's able to produce like non-AI-ish content. So in essence, you can just upload your brand's assets. So you can upload URLs, text documents, PDFs, your site, YouTube channel. So then the AI learns based off of your content, based off of your brand. It's able to produce brand-tailored content that doesn't sound AI generic. Okay. And then does all the technical SEO for you. All this stuff that I just showed you, AI can do for you. Okay. But that's not all. Like, what if you could just increase your traffic without creating new content and building links? Because what I've talked about right here in these 4 steps was to find the keywords, find the prompt, and create content around those keywords and prompts, right? Then build links to part of that content, and then fix your technical SEO. But what if you could have the same or similar results without creating new content, so having all that work, or building any links? Well, you can by doing this. It is through reviving existing content, right? So right here on the left-hand side, you see an existing piece of content, just a big wall of text. And literally what we did was take that piece of content and update it, right? You can literally increase traffic overnight without new content or backlinks, just by, in this case, having a proper internal linking structure. We added internal links on that article to others of ours, right? We added external links. We added in-article images. We added in-article videos. So the content, the content was already ranking, already got some traffic. It wasn't just new, right? It was an existing piece of content, right? But just by updating it, right, you can insanely increase the traffic, right? It is insane, right? You can just take an existing piece of content, and a lot of people they neglect their existing piece of content because they say, okay, I'm just going to post this, and then it ranks, it doesn't rank, I don't care, right? No. That doesn't make any sense. You need to keep on updating your existing content. Here's how I do it, okay? So, and you don't have to use any AI for this. You can just use it manually, right? What I do at the end of the year is I make a spreadsheet of my best performing content for the year. Doesn't matter if the post was posted like 5 years ago. Doesn't matter. Every single year, I make a list of the best performing content for that year, okay? Then I see what keywords that content is ranking for and look for competitors' content that targets those same keywords that's more recent than ours. So again, if my piece of content ranks for, I don't know, best iPhone cases for women, I don't know, or best iPhone cases for mothers, or best iPhone cases for women, whatever, right? And I search up that keyword, that prompt on GPT or on Google, and I find content that satisfies that same search intent from my competitors, but that's more recent than mine, okay? Then I read through that. Then I read through mine. I read through it and find ways to improve it based on the stuff on the new content that mine doesn't have, right? I put in more up-to-date info. I freshen it up with links, internal, external. I add more images. I add more recent videos. I add new sections, new paragraphs, right? I make my old content be more close, to the newest content from other competitors that are targeting the same prompt, same keywords as mine. Okay, because what's happening here, and the reason why you're de-ranking and they're increasing the rankings, is because Google LLMs, right? All they want is the correct info, fastest possible, the best way possible. So why would they be citing or mentioning, in the case of LLMs, a piece of content, or why would Google be ranking a piece of content that's outdated? Doesn't make any sense, right? So they're just going to rank the most recent ones, even if the site has lower metrics, even if the site has lower, not that good of a brand. Because again, all they want is the correct answer the fastest possible, right? So I do that. I improve the content based on what's working, right? Then of course I change the date. It's pretty obvious right here. Then I resubmit it for indexing in Google Search Console, so Google can recrawl it and know, hey, listen, I've updated this, okay? And by the way, if you plan on doing this, like try to add schema to it as well. Why not? Okay. This is what you need to do, and this is how you can achieve stuff like this. Again, no need to produce new content, no need to do all that. Again, this takes some work because you have to go and find the best performing ones. You have to go in and do some research on what's happening to know how and what parts to update, of course, right? And then actually do the update. Now, again, AI can do it for you as well. So let me just show you an example. So this right here, let me just open this up right here. Let's say again, this is an article that I was ranking, and this year was one of the best performing ones. But for whichever reason, I'm losing rankings, I'm losing mentions, so it's getting less traffic. This page on my site is getting less traffic. So what I can do literally is go in here and speak with this AI assistant and say, hey, listen, this was, hopefully you guys can see this, written in January 2025. But since then, again, this is an article about gardening tips in arid soils. Let's assume, for example, since then, there are no more deserts in the world. Update the article accordingly. Make sure also to mention my brand, XYZ, add a table comparing my product with these 3 new ones that came out, add an image. Basically, hopefully you get my point. You can just speak back and forth with this agent, and based on your prompts, based on what you say, just as if you were interacting with ChatGPT, you can have it change things in the article, the whole article. You can have new sections, you can change things around. Again, sure, could you do this manually? You could, but it would be a pain in the butt because you'd have to do the research. And what this AI assistant does is, based off of your prompt, it's going to read through the whole thing, do the research online, go and find information, add it right here. In case you don't want to use this, you can just select parts of it and add links. You can add and sprinkle in your keywords. You can rewrite things, make it longer, make it shorter, make a list, make a table. You can even add custom prompts, right? You can even, if these are AI-based images, which I think these ones are, just go here and say, add a dog, and the AI is going to basically take into account the context of the article as a whole, right? And the context of the image, and try to add a dog in a similar scenario type of image. Okay, again, you don't need to do this. I'm just showing you the full feature set of this AI, which again, full disclosure, I own. Yeah, again, but point is that you can update it and leverage AI to quickly update content. Because let's, for example, this image had a building that no longer existed, or a type of thing that no longer existed. Why not use AI to just tweak the image? And you can accept this. Again, it's not a dog in a sort of same environment. Again, point being is that you can do all this stuff manually, but doing it manually and just reading through the whole thing, reading through an article you've written like last year and figuring out, okay, what do I need to change? Let me just go in and search manually online for new information is a pain in the butt, and this does it automatically for you. There you go. So moving on to, oh, my bad right here. 1 second. We are back. Okay. So I think this is pretty cool, right? Again, you can do it manually or with AI, you choose. My point is that just make sure you do it, okay? Because not doing it is just costing you a lot of money, right? Just don't just publish content and forget about it. It doesn't make any sense, right? Make sure you do this stuff, okay? Guys, give me a 8 in the chat if this is cool and if this makes sense, and if hopefully by now I've helped you follow these 4 steps and entice you to use AI. Again, no need to use mine. Just make sure you use one, because like if I was competing with you and if I was using AI to edit my content, I would just be able to edit so much more content so much faster than you that you'd have no way to compete with me, right? So that's, yeah, okay, a bunch of 8s. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, guys. So I know people don't like to use AI, but the tech is here. The tech is insanely valuable, and the tech just needs to be used, okay? And again, all questions, I'll answer them at the end, guys. Don't worry. I see all your questions coming in. Don't worry. I'll get to them all at the end. But thank you for those. So yeah, pretty cool. Thank you guys for agreeing with me. All right, there you go. That's basically it. Hopefully you've made it this far. If so, congrats. It was quite a long hour. But again, I just want to make sure that I didn't end this video without letting you know, without emphasizing that like all this stuff is pointless if you don't actually apply it. I know it sounds cliche, I know it sounds cringe, but you have to go out and apply it, right? I can only do so much, right? So please apply this stuff. And yeah, if you made it this far, drop a like, drop a comment.